right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Comics for All. Today is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are in the world. My name is Jameson. I am your host here at Comics for All, a comics librarian. So I get to read all kinds of different comics. And as part of our weekly Ink and Insight segment here at Comics for All, we get to interview comic creators of all different shapes and sizes and from all over the place. And today we have Jimmy and Amber, who are co-creators on a title called Penny and the Yeti, which we're going to discuss in depth here. But Jimmy and Amber, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I know everyone's got busy schedules out there, but thanks for being here today, and glad to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So the first question I like to ask everyone as a comics librarian is, what hooked you, both of you, into comics as a reader? If you want to start us off, Jimmy.
Oh, sure. I think I started reading comics when I was a kid. My dad would take my brother and I to the local comic shop, and we would get whatever it was looked interesting. We got a lot of comics based on Saturday morning cartoons just because we were familiar with those. I don't think I read anything like too, consistently. It was just like whatever happened to strike our fancy. And then for a long time, I was away from comics, with schoolwork and college. I don't really think I picked up a comic, like very sparingly. And it was actually, I was at a Wizard World convention in Philly. I think they call it like Fan Expo now. But I went to Wizard World, and there was a ton of displays and T-shirts and different things about Green Lantern and like the different colored lanterns. And I remembered liking Green Lantern as a kid, but I had no idea that there were new color lanterns, that like any of that was going on. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of neat. I think it was probably either right at the same time or building up to Blackest Night. And
there you go.
I thought, you know what, I'm gonna pick that up. I liked Hal Jordan, and it seems like he's in that, and Blackest Night sounds cool, and like zombies and zombie heroes and other lanterns. And I went and bought like 4 big, beautiful, that I still have them. They're somewhere behind me. 4 big, beautiful Blackest Night hardcovers.
Oh, yes.
And the art was amazing. It looked great. I had absolutely no idea who anybody was or what was going on. I felt like I needed to read it while I had like the old like who's who in the DC universe, because there were a ton of characters I just didn't recognize because I hadn't picked up the DC comic. So I decided to go back, and I bought like Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Crisis and Identity Crisis and Final Crisis and everything I could find to kind of lead up to, and then like read Blackest Night again with a little bit more. And after that, I was just kind of like hooked. I think I read like everything Green Lantern that was coming out at that point in time. I read a couple other things and started reading a ton of stuff when DC relaunched in terms of the New 52. So it was almost like the TV show Lost, where they had the one storyline and then the flashback storyline. I was basically reading comics from like 2010, 2011 on, and then reading comics from like the 80s and 90s at the same time to fill in the backstory of the characters.
Okay, I love that though. Amber, how about you?
So I got into comics through when I was like a tween and early teenager. I was really into superhero movies. And when I realized that I didn't have to wait for the next Captain America movie 4 years from now, I was like, hold on. There's these books that I can read that are about these characters I love, and there's about 1 million of them. So I don't have to wait for anything. So I got really into first Marvel and then DC. I was a Batman kid. I really liked Teen Titans when I was a kid. I would tune in every night on Cartoon Network hoping for the next episode. And then from there, I moved on from the big two and started reading comics like Snot Girl was a big one for
Ooh,
me
good
from Image.
choice.
Loved Snot Girl.
So good.
Still reading it. I think it's still ongoing. But yeah, from there it was just like kids comics, adult comics, YA comics, web comics, any sort of picture and word storytelling I could get a hold of is just, I love it.
Fantastic. I love that. And we got actually already got a comment from Christopher Albright said, "I'm here for Jimmy and Amber."
Thank you, Christopher.
Of course. Yeah, so any viewers out there, feel free to put comments in the chat, or if you have any questions for Jimmy and Amber, we feel free to put those in the chat. So for both of you, when did you have the realization for yourself that you wanted to be, creative and part of the comics community? Amber, if you want to start with that one.
Yeah, so I was always kind of like the art kid growing up. I was always pretty good at drawing for a child. I loved doing it. It was hard to get me to stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of similarly, I was like kind of like in fandom for like superheroes. And then on Twitter, back in like the mid 2010s, I started like hearing more from the people who were making the comics and kind of having that sort of like distance removed where I was like, oh, there's like real people making these and
Mm-hmm.
they're drawing and they're all great at it and they're all really cool. And like, what if I did that? Because I'm pretty good at drawing. I bet I could draw comics. Um, and then I started drawing comics.
It's great. I love that. Jimmy, about you?
I just from reading so many comics, because after I kind of got back into everything with DC, there's a great comic shop down the street from me where I live in Delaware called the Comic Book Shop. Fantastic folks, and they Sarah in particular, who owned it at the time, she was phenomenal. And she just would point me into all type of stuff, like not just DC. She would be like, oh, you need to check this out, and really helped get me more into indie comics. And social media helped do that as well, just following different comic creators who had made DC something that I liked, who then moved into like the creator owned comics. And just from tweeting about comics, I and being like hearing from other creators, and similar to what Amber said, like kind of having that that separation. There's less of a separation between me as a reader and like the creator, because social media kind of allowed you to be like one little step closer.
Absolutely.
I felt like, oh, I like when I tell somebody I like their comic and they respond back, but I felt like on the outside, like I wanted to be even closer. I didn't want to be just a fan. I wanted to be even closer to the community. And I'm like, well, the only way you're ever going to do that is if you actually start trying to, write comics. So, I still feel like I'm on the outside. I don't know if like when Penny and Yeti comes out, if I'll feel like, oh, I guess I am part of this club, right, guys? Where's my jacket and my hat? But
we need some kind of like industry standard like sticker or pin, like, hey, you're part of the community.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You definitely do. A secret handshake, like whatever it is. I just what do I have to do? So
it's a great way to put it, actually. Kind of another reader-centric question to start us off. I know not everyone has the free time to read, comics on their free time, but if you have, is there any comics that you've read recently-ish, indie or major, that stuck with you?
I mean, do you want me to go first, Amber?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
if you've got one.
Yeah, no. So, yeah, I still do try and find time to read a lot of comics. I, to the best of my ability. I mean, I also, as one of the hosts of the Comic Book Yeti Cryptid Creator Corner podcast,
yes,
I have to read. I try to read the comics of the people coming on, so I can, talk about them somewhat intelligently. I'm not an artist, so to the best of my abilities. So I do try and do that. I've read a couple of things recently that I've been like a huge fan of. Just in particular, a couple of Mad Cave things like Orla that John Lees wrote and Sally Cantorino did the art for. I thought Orla was really great. Dave Chisholm's recent another Mad Cave one is Ted OK. I thought was a really fun comic.
I want to read that. I haven't got a chance to yet.
I really liked it. I think it's some of Dave's best work, and that's saying something, since like I thought Spectrum with Rick Quinn that he did right before this was like Dave's best work.
Right. And then Mad Cave just did a new edition of that too, didn't they?
They did a beautiful new edition of Spectrum, and that book just kind of blew my mind. But yeah, and then back to the DC stuff. I just recently read the first trade of Absolute Martian Manhunter, which I
have it ready, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. Dennis Camp as a writer, I just became a big fan of 20th Century Men. Also, his other recent one, Assorted Crisis Events, that he did with Eric Zudwicki. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the artist's last name correctly, but Assorted Crisis Event was also really, really great. So there's just a couple of things that I have enjoyed recently.
Perfect. Amber, about you? If you don't have free time, that's understandable, though.
I won't lie. I have been slacking on my comics reading. Making comics takes up the most of my time. But I did recently revisit a middle grade graphic novel called A Song for You and I by Kay O'Neill, who also did the Tea Dragon Society.
Oh, okay.
It is just like, I mean, the story is wonderful, but the illustrations are like, I look at it and I'm just like, I could never do this. And I'm so glad Kay O'Neill is doing it so I can like bask in these stunning illustrations. It's so beautiful. If you haven't read it, like, highly recommend.
Love that. So for both of you, I'm going to put the artwork up of Penny and the Yeti here in a second. But for each of you, how would you describe kind of Penny and the Yeti as kind of a story or a concept? And what really drew you to the story to kind of, hey, I want to work on this?
Ooh, Jimmy, do you want to start?
Sure. Penny and the Yeti started as a story idea, like a 4-page story idea that me and my youngest daughter, who is Penny, came up with, and it was just like one of those things. I was putting her to bed, and I said, "What are you going to do this summer?" And she's like, "I don't know." And she goes, "What are you going to do this summer?" And I said, "Well, I have to work. Like, I still work. I work during the summer. I don't get off like you do for school." I said, "What do you think I should do?" And she goes, "Well, are you going to write a story?" Because this was in 2022, so 4 years ago. She knew that I was. They would see me with my notebook, and I said, "Sure, I'll write a story. What should it be about?" And she knows that I did stuff for Comic Book Yeti, so she just said it should be about a Yeti. And I said, "Well, Penny should be in it." So we kind of came up with this story idea where Penny and Yeti go to a diner. And we called it Yeti and the Big Stomp. And I thought it would be neat to show her. She was 5 at the time. She's 8 now. I thought it would be fun to show her how comics were made.
Yeah.
So I kind of took the story idea, expanded it a little bit, scripted it. Another artist that I work with, Beck Kubrick, I reached out to them. Beck wasn't available. And Beck gave me the name of a few other artists, and one was Amber. And so I just loved Amber's art. I loved the portfolio I'd seen. So I reached out to her and asked her if she would be interested in drawing and coloring, and lettering this 4-page short. And then when Mad Cave had opened their submissions, because Paper Cuts, for anyone that doesn't know, is an imprint of Mad Cave.
Yep.
I wanted to kind of force myself to take the next step in being a writer, because up until that point I had only pitched to like anthologies, and I wanted to pitch a longer form story to a publisher. And the only art that I really had was Yeti and the Big Stomp. So I kind of thought about what type of story could I craft around Penny and the Yeti. And I came up with this idea for this family that's kind of in crisis. There's a lot of conflict between the two parents. The Penny's older sister is a bit checked out by it. Penny really doesn't like the arguing, and Yeti steps in. Penny thinks to help with the parents. Yeti doesn't know why Yeti's there. And I thought it would be fun. I thought I could tell a story that I thought would, would matter to kids and parents. And I was really doing it to just kind of force myself to do it. And then Paper Cuts saw Amber's art and they were like, well, we need to do this. And then, so that's kind of how, I roped Amber into drawing a 116-page graphic novel.
And thank you so much for that.
No kidding.
Yeah. When Jimmy came to me with the first 4 pages, I had been so burnt out from art school and I hadn't really drawn comics really for myself in a while. And when I heard the pitch, where he'd written it with his daughter and it had this magical Yeti, and it was just so exactly my cup of tea and what I wanted to be drawing. And I was like, this is perfect. This is such like a serendipitous way for me to get back into drawing comics. And then when he reached out again sometime later asking if I would be interested in hypothetically drawing a whole book, I was like, yes, please, say no more. I would love to draw the Yeti basically forever. And miraculously, I got to draw Penny and the Yeti and bring it to life, and really just had the time of my life drawing it. It's so special.
Well, my first question is, in terms of the visual design of Yeti, how many iterations, or was this kind of your first go at it?
Let's see. Yeti he had a few different iterations. Mostly it was just me that saw them because I waited until I found like the perfect like platonic ideal of a cute Yeti character before I showed it to anyone. When I was first designing the Yeti's look, I was teaching in person with middle schoolers, and during like off time I'd like take out my little iPad and like doodle. And when kids find out you draw comics, they want to see them and they want to tell you about it and they want to give you their critique. So I had some wonderful insight from my 6th graders at the time
Love it.
on what wasn't working, what was working with the Yeti's design. So shout out to my 6th graders. You guys had a lot of input on this one.
Man, sounds like they need to do some like comic book reviews for
yeah.
that age group.
They're natural editors at that age.
That's right. So now we can dive a little bit into kind of the collaboration process between the two of you. So what does the kind of the back and forth look like? Do you, Jimmy, do you script first, thumbnail first, or develop in tandem? Kind of how does your process go for you guys?
Sure. Yeah. I once we realized we were actually going to do this, and Paper Cuts was going to publish it. I had not written anything else other than like the outline that I sent to Paper Cuts. So because I'm the type of person that keeps thinking that it's probably not going to happen. I don't think I'm a pessimist. I think I'm a realist. And things can fall apart. So it really wasn't until like we actually signed on the dotted line that we were going to make Penny and the Yeti that I was like, oh, I have to do this now. So I, in terms of a time, I'm good with deadlines. I'd like to have a deadline. I don't like open-ended. I like to have a deadline to shoot for. So I said, all right, well, give me 3 months. I told them initially that I think it was going to be 114 pages. And I think I had some wiggle room in there, but that was my goal, to at least make it 114. And I said, give me 3 months and I'll do the first draft, the whole thing. And they said, okay. Our editor at the time, Stephanie Brooks, she said, oh, that's fine. So I think I had sent Amber the outline, either right before or around the same time I had pitched 2 Paper Cuts. And then we had talked a little bit about the story, like on a Zoom. I think Amber and I, and then with our editor, Stephanie. And then it was mainly I got to work and scripted it. And I did it all in like a Google Doc that we could share. And then as soon as I had it, I think I was supposed to have it done by the end of July 2024. Whenever I started, that would have been the end of the 3 months. I think I sent it to Stephanie and Amber on August 2nd. So I was just 2 days shy, but pretty close. And then we had a shared Google Doc. And then so Stephanie and I could go through and edit, but also Amber could go through. And, I just remember the feeling when I first went through it after Amber went through it, because I really wanted to know what she thought, because she was going to have to draw all of this. And there were like a lot of little notes that weren't necessarily like edits, or they were just like, I can't wait to draw this, or like, oh, I'm like, OMG, this is great. So it felt very good to be like, oh, okay. Like, I think this is going to work really well. And so that's what we did. We had a shared Google Doc, and we'd go through and we would edit the script that way. And then once we had a section locked, Amber, would start, I think, thumbnailing it and doing layouts and then sending them over. And we'd look at those. And then once they were locked, I would go back and adjust the script if I needed to, depending on, what happened with the layouts. Because I remember there were some times where Amber was just like, hey, I started doing this. And I don't think it happened a lot, but there were a few times, I think, Amber, where you were like, hey, what if I did it this way? Or what if I made this, like, what if I added an extra panel? Or there were things like that, just that made more sense, visually, in terms of telling the story, that, Amber just knew, because she's an artist and I'm not. Yeah, every time I got it back, I was like, oh, so that's how like an artist's brain works. Like that's not what mine does, and that makes way more sense than what I put in the script. So
that makes sense. My next question is for Amber. So Amber, for this particular book, did you work digitally, traditionally, a combination of both? And how does that impact your approach for graphic storytelling?
I did the majority of, I guess, everything for Penny and the Yeti between Procreate on my iPad and then Photoshop on my laptop with a Cintiq.
Nice.
For comics, I mess around with like composition so much that if I was doing it on paper, I think I would fully lose my mind. It's a lot of like tweaking with like the transform tool and like scooting something over 2 pixels to see if it like makes the composition better. I think somehow working digital both speeds up my process and also like slows it down, because I can just press that undo button as many times as I want, which is usually quite a few times. But I actually found when I was first like designing the characters, I was drawing them on paper a lot instead of on my iPad, just because it came like a little bit more naturally to me. But all of the final art, all digital, all the way.
Love that. Is there any kind of go-to tools in your kit that you're like, these are reliable things that like artists need to have in 2026?
Ooh. I mean, my iPad, at first I was like, I don't need an iPad, I have a Cintiq. And then I had an opportunity to buy a refurbished one for like a good deal. And I was like, okay, like everyone at art school had one of these and like loved it. I'll give Procreate a try. And now it's like I take it everywhere with me. I am constantly making jokes that I'm like an iPad baby. Like if I don't have my iPad, I'm like lost. Not to convert anyone, but
right.
It's great.
Like, I know what you're talking about, like those the iPad kid generation that just the stare.
Like Procreate's like my Coco Melon. I just like open it up and I'm like all set.
Perfect.
Well, one of the things that Amber had, told me that she had done, which I don't know if other artists I worked with had done this before and not, and just never mentioned it, but that I thought was really clever is Amber would do like the 3D models of like the house, so that she would always know like where things were in terms of the perspective. It was one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that was definitely so necessary. When I realized I'd have to draw like the same rooms over and over, I was like, I just like, my brain can't keep track of all that. So I used a program called Sweet Home 3D, which is, I think, for like architects, but like I'm using
like
it for
interior home
comics.
design. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was so helpful. 3D models are such great resources.
They are, and 3D printing is like a whole nother avenue in that realm. If you can, do you guys have a kind of fun behind the scenes moment, a joke that became part of the story, or kind of an art mishap that became, a creative solution, anything along those lines?
Well, I don't know if this is necessarily, I don't know if I've ever asked Amber this. If I did, I think I've forgotten, but I was going through the book with somebody else recently, online, and I'm pretty sure there's a scene in Penny's school where Penny is with her best friend Harper, like they're at recess, and then there's two other kids there. I don't know if this is intentional, but they look an awful lot like little Amber and little Jimmy on the playground. So I don't know if that was intentional, but like it's to me it felt like a little Easter egg. Like there's a little first grade Amber and Jimmy on the playground with Penny and Harper.
Oh yeah, I threw in anytime I got to draw a background character, I was like, "Yep, that's my friend. That like, this is me."
Love that. So if we can now, we can delve a little bit into kind of the themes, the tone, and storytelling, more storytelling choices. So how does the tone, whether if it's whimsical, mysterious, heartfelt, kind of, I feel like it's a little bit of everything there. How does that shape the way you tell the story, Jimmy? That's probably more on your end right now.
Yeah, I mean the tone of it is there's some more serious moments in it. I mean, it's about a family who's kind of struggling. I mean, they still have some fun. There are some moments where Penny has like one-on-one time with her parents and everything seems great. It's just really whenever the parents are together, there's this stress and this conflict. And the other thing about the book is that when I wrote it, I broke it down into sections that like made the most sense to me. So I like to plot things out and do like an outline. So
yeah,
I would do, all right, section 1. This is my goal for section 1. And then I basically just go in my notebooks. I like to freehand everything, like write out my first draft. And then I'll type. When I type everything up, I'll edit as I go. That's kind of like the second draft. And then I'll edit from there on the computer. But the first thing I like to do is I'll put what I think happens on each page. So I'll do a sheet in my notebook and I'll just go, section 1, we meet the family. It was important to me that kids reading it or parents reading it with their kids, like meets the entire family first. I thought I didn't want to introduce Yeti right away. Yeti doesn't show up to the very end of section 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted the focus to be Penny first, then the parents. And then Penny has one-on-one time with her older sister, Perry. Then we have a scene where all 4 of them are together at dinner. And, the first section is kind of like up and down to kind of get a sense, a little bit of the chaos of it seems like we're having good times, but then we're right back into a stressful situation a page or 2 later. So,
right.
It was important that everybody meet the family first, that Penny has like one-on-one time with everybody as we introduce the characters, and that we really get a sense of the family dynamic. And we go from a little bit of arguing to the parents. And then each time the parents have another argument in the first section, that first like 22 or 23 pages, it gets a little bit worse for Penny in terms of, either the volume or how her parents are acting toward each other, and until the reveal of Yeti. So knowing that was going to be the tone, I mean, that's why I think this works so well with Amber's art, because it is so fun and whimsical, and it kind of allowed me, I think, to make the family feel more authentic, because I knew the art lightened it up, and that I knew in sections 2, 3, 4, and 5 there were going to be some really fun, silly, imaginative adventures with Penny and Yeti as we went on.
Fantastic. For both of you, are there any other works, movies, comics, or books that kind of influence the feel of this story?
I have some art style influences. Um, so I would say probably like my biggest like creative influence in terms of like style is the cartoon Adventure Time,
Ooh,
which
yes.
I grew up with Adventure Time. I've been watching it since I was a kid. I'm still watching it now, and so many just like so talented cartoonists and writers and storyboard artists worked on that show. Um, and I think it really shines through with, I guess, the way I draw people mostly. The dot eyes, people are definitely like, did you like grow up watching Adventure Time? I'm always like, yes, and I read Tintin and I read Peanuts and I love a dot eye. Um, and I was also really influenced by just like a whole slew of contemporary like children's book authors, illustrators, cartoonists. A big one for me was I read Bigfoot and Nessie: The Art of Getting Noticed,
Yep.
and
Great
that was,
choice.
yeah, that one was really influential, especially with like the color palette even.
I would agree with that. Jimmy, any
I love
influences
this.
on your writing?
Yeah, I was just going to say, though, I love Yeti in a hoodie.
I do too.
Me too.
I just love this entire perspective, like looking at the house from the street, and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of writing style, I think I don't know, I might. It's hard to say because whenever anyone asks me my influences in terms of writing, I tend to be influenced by writers whose style is very different from my own. Like I don't try and you know like mimic somebody's style, or I don't try to write in the same style as anyone. There's certainly writers that I've been, influenced by their work. It's all, very different than anything from Penny and the Yeti. It's more so that I'm influenced by other comic book creators to, you know, just to create, to want to write. Like when I read
Mm-hmm.
something by Dennis Camp, or Zach Thompson is another writer that I absolutely love. I'm a big fan of like Cullen Bunn's work, and how, prolific Cullen Bunn is. I mean, I think the first time I read Tom King and Mitch Gerard's um, Mr. Miracle, like I think I finished that, and I'm like, yeah, I wanna do this. I'll never write anything like this, but I
Right.
but I want to write, comics.
And that's fair. So my next question is actually a really fun question. If the story had a soundtrack, what kind of music or artists would you have on the playlist or the soundtrack?
Oh, Amber, I really want you to answer this first.
So it would definitely be very different than the music I actually listen to when drawing the majority of the book.
That's funny.
I listen to a lot of like just like a hardcore and punk and like sludge metal when I was
Love that.
drawing it, but I think the book's actual soundtrack would be more like My Neighbor Totoro or like Ponyo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's when I was reading the list of questions that might come up, that one made me laugh out loud. I was like, I can't talk about like sludge
Yeah.
metal again.
You totally can, because I'm a huge metalhead, so I'm okay with it.
But yeah, that would be great. Because when Amber told me, I didn't know that, and just recently she told me some of the stuff when we were, talking on something else, and she said some of the music that she listened to while creating this, and I was like, oh yeah, those Penny and the Yeti and something called sludge metal are like, I feel like opposite ends of the spectrum. That's a fantastic juxtaposition.
It'd be really interesting to see kind of Penny and the Yeti somehow in a future volume end up at a sludge metal concert or something.
They're in the pit. Yeti would do great.
Yeah. By volume 3, the older sister Perry's, going to be into like some type of like death metal, sludge metal,
Mhm.
that'll be part of it. I want to see how Yeti reacts in a sludge metal. Actually, I want to see how the other people at the concert react to Yeti.
I love that. Well, that's kind of a question I just thought of right then and there. How far do you have this story kind of mapped out? Is it multiple volumes at this point, or are you just kind of waiting to see how the first volume goes and then go from there, or kind of what's the plan?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I would love to do more. I guess it's going to depend on how well this one does, and if Paper Cuts wants to do more. I think Amber and I are both game. I mean, I have an outline. I don't think I've showed it to anybody, but I have an outline in my
Hey,
notebook for a book too. So we'll see. But I'd love to keep doing it. So I love these characters. I love this story. Yeah, I love Amber's work on it, and it was amazing to work with Amber, and to work with the whole team at Paper Cuts. I mean, you know, in
shout
this
out
day
Adam.
and age, I mean, everybody at Paper Cuts, and especially our letterer. I can't talk on a podcast or have an interview without shouting out Buddy Bodoin, who is just a
Oh yeah,
phenomenal
buddies are
letterer.
great.
I love Buddy's work. I was, so happy that they got Buddy on this, and Buddy did an amazing job lettering. I love working with Buddy, and yeah, everybody else, our letterers on it, everybody on the marketing side of things. Tim Daniel, who I love Tim's work. I love a lot of the books that he's written with David Andre. If anybody
Yes.
is familiar with those, like
Yeah, David's been on the channel before.
oh yeah, but some of the stuff they've done together, what is that, like Crush Depth and
Mm-hmm.
Morningstar, and so Tim designed the Penny and the Yeti logo.
Love that.
So yeah, it's nice when you can get people involved, and when you have something and get folks involved in the projects. It makes it I don't know, it just feels nice, because I feel like, wow, this has been I feel like I know 5 people in comics, and I got 2 of them to work on the book.
Hey, that you got to get your friends to help you make the things,
Yeah.
So kind of in a trying to be positive in a world full of negativity, what for both of you, what inspires you about kind of the current comics landscape right now, especially in the last year with the collapse of Diamond and everything like that, but what makes you kind of positive for the future of comics right now?
Amber, you want to start?
Sure. Um, Something that's exciting for me is just the sheer diversity of like comics and comics creators who are putting out such like phenomenal work. And every day when I go into like a children's bookstore and I see all of the new like children's graphic novels and like
So
early
many.
readers books, it's just like so many fantastic books are being published and so many more are coming. And I'm like grateful that there's a place for me in comics too to make the kind of work that I want to make.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I just think this is. I mean, I say it on the Cryptid Creator Corner like all the time, like to my listeners when I interview folks. It's like this is like a golden age of comics.
It is.
If
As
there is,
librarian can confirm.
there's something for everybody.
Everybody.
I mean, for kids, for
Mhm.
that middle grade, for young adult, for adults, and I mean, in the past, 10 years at least, um, in terms of like graphic novel autobiographies, and like there's serious work being
Nonfiction
done.
comics.
Yeah, in
Love them.
nonfiction comics. Eh, um, it's just incredible. And even if you like just want comics as an escape, something fun, and there's still a ton of superhero comics, there's horror comics. I mean, we're even starting to get back and getting some like romance comics, which I don't think have really been popular since like the 50s and 60s. And
Mm-hmm.
now we're even starting to see some of that again. And just like Amber said, the diversity of it, not just the subject matter, but also the creators and the folks that you see who are making comics. And maybe a lot of that is still in like a crowdfunding space or in indie comics. But I have to hope that it's getting better, in all aspect of comics. All areas. I would like to think that, but there's just so much amazing work being done in comics right now. I mean, I think that's incredible.
It is, and as someone who consumes a lot of it, it's a kind of unprecedented. There's almost overwhelming amount of comics in terms of you can't keep track of all the great stuff that's being put out there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's impossible to read. I think it's probably impossible unless you don't do anything else. And I don't even know if you could do it then to read all the stuff that's out there. You really do have to pick and choose. But whatever you're into, somebody's making it.
That's right. What's a lesson or something valuable you've learned along the way in making this book in particular?
Yeah, great question. I think this was the first time in writing a script where I wasn't worried about being formal or worried about somebody telling me that I was doing it wrong. I feel like it was the most vulnerable I've ever been in terms of writing something, not just not just because there's a character named Penny and I have a daughter named Penny, and there's going to be inevitable comparisons to my life, even though it's not autobiographical.
Right.
But also in terms of like the actual script, putting in like not just saying page 1, panel 1, here it is, like saying things like, I was thinking this. Amber, what do you think? Amber, do you think you could do something like this? Amber, here's my idea. Do you have a better idea? Like just not kind of letting go any pretense of that I'm absolutely right and I know what I'm doing. And I think there's something about my personality in particular. I really don't like being called out about being wrong. I think it was started as like a kid, and if I was a smart kid in a very small class. This has now turned into a therapy session. I apologize. I was a smart kid in a very small class, and I think that if I got something wrong, I got picked on. Mm-hmm. So it led to me being very never answering a question unless I knew I was right. And even when I had left that small class in high school and college and law school, that like stayed with me. And so there's always, and now as an attorney, I can't, I have to be right a lot of the time. And I've learned as an attorney that to be confident in what it is I do, I think I'm a really great lawyer and I advocate well for my clients. But because I was new to writing comics, I fell back on that feeling of, I don't want anyone to tell me I'm wrong. I got to get everything right. The kids are going to make fun of me. And I was just like, you're a 45-year-old man. What are you doing? Just write the best story you can.
Yeah,
Amber's
just do the
artist. She might have a better idea. Nobody's going to tell you you're wrong. And if they do, so what? You're trying to make this story as great as possible. If you're not sure what to do in this panel, just say, I'm not sure what to do. I don't know if this is the right thing. Do you have any ideas? And I think it just made for an amazing collaboration. So that's what I learned.
Right. Love hearing that. So I did put the pre-order link in the chat again for everybody out there. So make sure to check it out and get the item pre-ordered. So in terms of, I know the book's not out yet, but the reader feedback you have received so far, can you share any information in terms of how the readers who have read it so far, what they've said?
I mean, the folks that I've talked to seem to really like it. I think kids really respond to the colors of the book. I think kids, my kids haven't read it yet. They both said they wanted to wait till like a physical book, but we've shown snippets of it to a few people. The kids seem to really respond, in particular to Yeti and Amber's design of Yeti. A couple of adults have told me that it has hit too close to home, so, but they told me that they really loved it. So, I mean, that's what I wanted the family to feel authentic, and I wanted it to still be fun for kids, and I think we did that. So yeah, that's what I've heard so far.
Yes.
Everyone has just been so nice about it. I feel like everyone I've showed it to has been like, "Oh, this is great. Like Amber, you did like such a good job with the art," to the point where I'm like, I feel like you guys wouldn't tell me if I did a bad job, and that's okay. I don't need to hear it. But yeah, so far everyone that I've shown it to has been like so positive, and the people that I know that I've shown it to are like, wow, you really lucked out, like working with such like a fantastic writer for your first book. And I'm always like, yeah, I know. It's been awesome.
Oh, thank you.
We got a couple of comments in the chat. Christopher Albright again. My daughter asked if they draw anything else, will it come to life? And then Luis from Comic Book Yeti said the Yeti design is great and the story does kind of hit very close to home.
Thanks, Luis.
Oh yeah, Luis was just on the channel the other day himself. So for both of you, are there any upcoming convention appearances as a creator or a fan?
I go to Baltimore every year for Comic Book Yeti. I try to go as press. I've gone the past 3 years, and then I try to meet new folks and talk to them about coming on the podcast. So hopefully this year I'll go to Baltimore again. I'm toying with the idea of going to New York Comic Con for the first time. I know that Mad Cave and like Maverick and Paper Cuts, I think, usually have a booth there. So I'm thinking about venturing, because I'm on the East Coast. I'm only in Delaware. So to go to New York, I haven't been to New York Comic Con before, but I feel like this would be the year to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
The only convention that I like regularly get to go to, I'm so busy. I have 2 other jobs on top of comics, but I always make time to go to MICE, the Massachusetts Independent Comics Expo.
Yes.
It happened quite recently, so I won't be back again for like another 10 months, but it's my favorite comics convention. And I love yapping with people there. So if you see me at MICE, just like come on up. I want to talk comics.
Nice. My friend Matthew No goes there. He's a comics librarian as well, so I'm sure you'll meet up with him at some point. He's hard to miss. So for both of you, are there any hints or things that you can talk about in terms of other projects that you're working on in 2026?
Amber?
Nothing set in stone yet. I'm working on a couple of pitches. Also for children's graphic novels. It's my jam. I want to draw more fairies, more critters,
please.
more kids having adventures. And none of it has hit anybody's inbox yet, but you never know, might happen.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm at a point right now where I had kickstarted an anthology last year, and it just took a while to finish a couple of the stories that we added as a stretch goal. So I wanted to get that out the door. That's all done. And we're now, gearing up for Penny and Yeti and the Yeti to come out. And so I've kind of haven't really started anything else yet. I have a couple different things that I want to do. I just haven't chosen what it is. I keep telling myself, like, just sit down and knock it out and get it done. But I haven't decided exactly what it is I want to do yet. I will say though that I recently am kind of part of the Summit Comics universe. If you've heard about Summit Comics, that
they've been on here twice.
Yeah, okay. So a new share universe. Well, CJ Hudson, his character Granite recently had a Kickstarter, and he had there's a couple of backups. So I was lucky enough to get picked for my script for a 4-page story with artist Alaire Rossico. It looks amazing. It was like a dream too to work with Alaire. I love Alaire's work. And also Summit had a talent search for writers and then artists. So I felt pretty lucky. They had, I think, quite a few, quite a lot of submissions, and I was one of 2 writers that were picked. So it's like a 2-page short that I did with one of the Summit Comics villains, and Pete Collins. He just sent me like the final inks for the 2 pages, and they look like they look incredible. Like I can't wait for folks to like see more of what's happening with Summit. They just finished their Kickstarter for like Pinnacle issue 1. I think the Granite Kickstarter is might still be going now.
Yep.
But it just, I'm really excited by all the folks that are involved and all the stuff that they're doing, and Travis Gibb and Adam Barnhart, and like what it is that they are putting together.
Yes,
It's
just had Adam on yesterday, actually.
Adam's great. I've been a fan of Adam's work since I don't know if I don't want to curse on here, but the SHIT show comic that he did. I wasn't sure. We have a kids comic. I feel weird doing that, but
that's fair.
I've been a fan of Adam's work since then, and the stuff that he has done. I just love the concept of that book, so I'm very excited for all the Summit stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited for people to see this 2-page short, because Pete crushed it. It looks amazing. So
shout out Summit. I love that. So for both of you, where can the viewers find you both online and follow along with what you're doing?
I'm on Blue Sky at my full name, Jimmy Gaspero, and a TikTok. I think it's the same. And you can go to Comic Book Yeti and check out all the great stuff that folks at Comic Book Yeti are doing. Like
the best.
And the Comic Book Yeti Cryptid Creator Corner. The podcast has over 400 episodes, so you can listen to, a lot of great creators have come on and talked to me. So yeah, that's about it.
I am mostly on Blue Sky these days. My handle is Almond Milk Art. Also occasionally on Instagram. Sometimes I forget it's there, but those are the best 2 places to find me.
Perfect. So my last question is a fun one, but an odd one to close us out. But do either of you have a favorite snack or as a meal to power yourself through a couple hours of working on a project?
I have mine ready to go. Trader
Go
Joe's.
ahead, take it away.
Trader Joe's has this like Cheez-It knockoff that's just called like savory squares they're so good. Trader Joe's, I feel like you guys should sponsor me, because I probably ate about 100 boxes over the course of drawing Penny and the Yeti.
Fantastic.
They're delicious if you forget what real Cheez-Its taste like.
Got it.
That's fair. I don't know if I have like any particular go-to snack, but any type of Chex Mix or trail mix we can't keep in the house, because if I find it, I will destroy it. Especially the bold. It's like the grayish black bag, the bold Chex Mix.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous stuff. But that's probably, like, if I really want a snack, I'll go for those. Or Harvest Cheddar Sun Chips.
Oh, yeah. I like the garden salsa variety.
Yeah, we had those, and my Penny didn't like them. And, like, my wife bought the box of different ones, like the variety pack. I think it was for when we went like on our Jersey Shore trip that we do every year, and she had bought the box, and it's usually I'm not allowed to have any because they're for the kids when we go to the beach. But I lucked out this past year because Penny didn't like garden salsa, so
yes,
we're all mine.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both for coming on the show today. It's been wonderful to talk with you both. And everyone out there, please make sure you go ahead and order Penny and the Yeti. And if you can't order it yourself, ask your library to order a copy. So there's still plenty of time for libraries to get their copies ordered as well. But Jimmy and Amber, any last thoughts you'd like to share before we head out?
I really appreciate you, Jameson, for having us on the show. And if Penny and the Yeti sounds like something you would like, or your kids would like, or your grandkids or nieces or nephews or anyone at all, but please pre-order it. And yeah, tell your local comic shop, they can get you a copy. And or that's a great thing in terms of telling your library. One of the first things I did when we got the ordering information was to fill out a local author form for my library, the Brandywine 100 Library in Wilmington. And gave them all the information that they would need in order to to order a copy of Penny and the Yeti. So
That's what you have to do.
yeah, and
The library
just,
market is crazy challenging. Can confirm.
Yeah, especially with like recent events in the news. And you know the biggest supplier of books to libraries, but
Yeah, the equivalent of Diamond basically just is gone now for us too.
Yeah. But your library can still find a way. But I've read so many comics from my library. I love it.
Oh, same. I check out
Yeah.
all the time. And in California, we have a wonderful program where if your library doesn't have an item, if it's available on Amazon, then we can actually order it and it comes to our address as the patron. And then once we're done with it, then it gets added to the library collection. So I've been doing that for 2 years now, with just adding comics to the library that they didn't have. Especially a lot of them are creators that come on the show. So it's a kind of a cool way to get creators and get them on library shelves.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
The state library funds it. They give money to all the public libraries throughout the state, and each library gets I don't know how they disperse it or how they determine who gets how much, but it's a really great program because it's a great way of filling in the gaps that not every person who orders books reads comics at all. So it's a great way for the people who read comics to let the people know, like, hey, these are great titles and you guys need to have them.
I love that.
All right. Well, everybody out there, thank you for sticking with us for 56 minutes. This has been Comics for All, where comics, creativity, and community all connect. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Good night.